So the Gemara weiter. All right. Amalei Abai Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. Abai says, what's the procedure into techeles now? How do you actually make techeles? Well, how do you dye something techeles? Now we're not getting into the question what techeles is. That's another question. What the source of techeles is. But what do you actually do when you're making techeles? How do you dye something techeles? So apparently, well, you dye however you dye, but apparently there's klolim how you have to dye it. So the Gemara says, Omalei, masinon dam chilosen. It seems you bring the dam chilosen and the salmonim together. It's like the mashmah says you bring something in. There's additives. It's not just dam chilosen. It's not just whatever the fluid that comes out of the chilosen. You bring salmonim. There's certain chemicals that are brought with it. You put them into that, and you boil them up. You're going to need to test it. You're going to need to test the dye. So what you do is you take an eggshell. You fill an eggshell, and that's your sample. It's like you can have a test tube if you want. It doesn't need to be an eggshell, but that was the equivalent of their test tubes. You take an eggshell, you fill it up. So you take a tuft of wool, and you put it in there, and then you're able to check it out, see what the dye looks like. So first of all, what do I need to test it like that? I mean, just look at the dye. Is it blue or is it not blue? So the answer is, very interesting answer is, that b'pashtus, the dye is not blue. The Rambam says b'feish. The dye in the vat is not blue. Now, depending what techeles you're using, the dye is not blue. It's Rambam says it's dark. It's a darkish color. And you won't actually see the color, the true color of techeles till you take it out, you put it into an eggshell, you allow it to oxidate. The air has to then get at it, and then it turns into the blue color. So you'll only know if the dye is ready if you actually take a sample out and check that. That's what that apparently is the issue. Now, you've got here an issue. What are these chemicals here? Where are these chemicals? So Rashi says, "Kederach hatoivim." Rashi and Tosfos all say this is. You actually can't dye. It's not shaykh to dye really without using chemical additives. That's the dover bora. They're called double salts or something, and you need what's called reducing agents, and you have to all dyes because the dye has to become fast. It has to penetrate, come fast to the fabric, and. So there needs two things. First, the mashmah says, it's a mashmah a Rambam, the fabrics have to be, before you dye fabrics, the fabrics have to be soaked in solutions of salt solutions. It's not regular, I don't know what the names of the salts are, the special names, I don't know all dyeing, the fabric has to be soaked first. And then, there's another issue. The mashmah is that the actual dye also has to have this additive, this double salt additive. Rashi calls it alum. The alum is some sort. I don't know what it's called.
Alum is a salt of aluminium with oxygen and
whatever. Anyway, whatever. It's something with sodium in. It's something with sodium in, but I'm not sure what the sodium this or that the other. There's several candidates for it, but the dyers know what use it. But so these salts tend to. It takes the fabrics and makes the fabrics raw for the dye to cling to them. And what they also do is, apparently, they break down I think they're called reducing agents, from what I understand, and they break down the actual dyes that the dyes can cling, and they penetrate and you see and they stick to the fabric.
Yeah.
And it's the idea is with techeles, the operative issue with techeles is that techeles does not fade and does not come out. It doesn't fade. It stays. It's
fast color.
It's a fast color, and for it to be properly fast, to hold fast to the you need, so there's certain chemical reactions have to be to go on that they actually become part, as it were, of the fabric of the threads. So, as I said, you're never using pure techeles. That's what one of your problems. You're never using pure techeles. So Tosfos actually has a kasha. He says, if you look, there's a little Tosfos on the way out. It says, "Tema eichmar of shum dover b'had techeles." How are you putting an additive into the techeles? So he says that techeles, when we say techeles, we don't mean pure techeles. You're doing dyeing. Everyone knows that dyeing requires certain chemicals that allow for the dye to become fast, to fasten. And therefore, techeles, the given is techeles, means techeles with these agents, these reducing agents that allow the dye to hold fast. Now, the problem is, if you go between Rashi, Rambam, and Tosfos, the question is, where do these chemicals come in? All these chemicals from Rashi, these chemicals are put in the pot with the techeles, or these chemicals are used. Rashi says success mashma that the chemicals are actually you soak the begodim in the chemicals, but when you actually dye the begodim, it's only in pure techeles. So I saw Rabbi Alyashiv writes when he's an anti-techeles man. He basically he disputes. He's
anti-murex.
And that's not just the murex. He's anti-bechlal the idea of techeles. And one of his issues is because he says no one knows how to do it. You're not sure exactly on the procedure. It's a machlokes rishonim what the procedure is. Do you the chemicals they're in along with the techeles or not? When you actually dye it, it's only in pure techeles. He says a machlokes, and that's
so nobody's going to know till Mashiach comes.
So you have to wait for your techeles till Mashiach comes. That's his what part of his time. Rav Moshe, by the way, says according to Tosfos, if you would actually dye something in pure techeles, you're taking not yotza. Because Tosfos says techeles, the given of techeles with the reducing agents, the chemicals. And if somehow you manage to dye without that, he says he won't be yotza. Now, if I remember correctly, one of the big problems when Reb Herzog, when he did his doctorate on techeles, so he's basically he's not the last word. Many people have spoken before, but he's the biggest researcher in the Indian. And one of his tainas on the Radzina Rebbe, who had discovered that said that he's gotten a sort of techeles, is that the techeles coming out of the cuttle, I think it's the cuttlefish that the Radzina Rebbe has.
But that's not.
He says it's not. It doesn't even give a blue color. It's not even. It says it's not even purple. So the blue color comes because they add ferrous oxide.
Iron. It's called iron.
Ferrous oxide, right?
But they answered that because when they did it in the time of Chazal, they only used iron pots, not stainless steel pots. So you have to add iron.
He says it came out the cast iron pots. I hear it, but anyway, he said there was an iron additive, ferrous oxide, and you were getting from this ferrous oxide. That was giving the color. And he says, and in fact, you'd add that to anything. He says there's many dyes you'd add that to, and you'd get the same color. So the cuttlefish becomes. Anyway, as I said, this becomes the Indian of additives. It's not such a kasha because who knows? That's the. Apparently they held that if you need pure techeles, it would be a kasha. But you don't need pure techeles. And the nature of techeles is that it seems to be a combination, a reaction between these samamonim and whatever's coming out of your chilozin. So you have to know that's less. But his timer was that the additive is really giving the whole colour, and that you could have added that to many things and you'd have gotten the same colour. As I said, this is the beginning of our. We're entering into the very, very complicated and controversial issues of techeles. Well, this is the first foray.
They use what they use now to make the trailers. Does that possibly into this?
43.
Why you put it in?
Yeah.